Well, I saw the Chinese Zoodiac that Wei did a few years ago, and liked those pieces very much. And they were basically imitating a series of previous sculptures which are now scattered all over the world. So, having seen the Eastern Zodiac, I thought it could be fun to remake the Western Zodiac in a fun, light-hearted, accessible way for a broad audience, and maybe also get a chance to retell some of the narratives about the origins of all these constellations, which I'm sure we tend to have forgotten in our modern times. Well, this has been a very long work. So I started on the bull bust, the Taurus, more than 3 years ago. So that must have been in 2015 at some point. And I made that in the US as the only sign. The rest of them have been made here in Italy. And I started with the bull because it's my own personal zodiac sign, both in the Greek and in the Chinese system. I am as much a Taurus as you can possibly get. So, as this work has been going on for 3-4 years, I think it's the most time-consuming thing I've ever made in my career so far. It has not been constant work, however. In that time interval, I managed also to produce a 16 feet hippo ballerina, which was put in front of the Lincoln Center in 2017. So I have, whenever I had an opening in my calendar, I have worked on a new sign, and then finally I've gotten to the point where all 12 of them were made. Also thanks to my assistant Marco degli Innocenti, who has helped me to speed things up, and who is very good at assisting me in the realization of very ambitious artistic projects. So I have worked at the Chiliacarai foundry for maybe 12-13 years now. It's really been a long collaboration. I've seen the owner, the grande capo Jacopo Cilia, grow old together with myself. I think we're about the same age. And he runs a dream team, I think, of artisans and metal workers, and with these guys I can really realize even the most difficult projects, because it is a very collaborative job to make bronze statues. From beginning to end, a work of mine passes through the hands of maybe 10-15 workers, from the clay part until the final patina of the final bronze sculpture. So I consider all these guys my friends and colleagues after all these years, and we have a lot of fun together. I love coming here and working there. So I'm not particularly interested in astrology myself, and it's not like I read the horoscopes in like weekly newspapers or tabloid magazines, but I've always been interested in the cultural history of the zodiac signs. They have a long and very, very interesting history, I think, originating at least in Babylonia and maybe even earlier, more than 3,000 years ago, and then becoming these universally known symbols that we all know today. So I thought it could be fun with these bronze busts and a series of small Renaissance-like medals on each of the bases to re-narrate the origins of some of these constellations in a like funny, easygoing, accessible way. So, for instance, with the bull, I wanted to give it some of the contemporary characteristics of the bull as well. In the English language, we have the expression when someone behaves like without very uncompromisingly. He or she is like a bull in a china shop. So I thought it could be fun to make the bull bust, covered with pieces of porcelain after having run through the whole shop and destroyed everything. And on the base, instead, you have the origin of the Taurus sign, the bull sign, which is the rape of Europe. Most of these constellations have something to do with Zeus's insatiable sexual appetite for all kinds of creatures and humans of both genders, and or they have something to do with the labors of Hercules. And many of these little medals retell those now probably rather forgotten but very funny stories. So, for instance, in the case of the bull, Zeus, in order to seduce a beautiful Phoenician princess, Europa, who lived in the Levant in modern-day Syria, probably, dressed himself up as a bull and came to her, and she was so charmed by this beautiful animal that she made a garland of flowers to put on its head, and eventually she sat on its back, and then suddenly he started running over the sea towards Crete and brought her with him. And that's how Europa, which has given name to our continent, was brought from east to west. And also the Gemini have something to do with Zeus's love of dressing up in order to seduce mortal women. And in this case he dressed up as a swan to seduce the beautiful Leda. And out of that union came Castor and Pollux, which were born from the same egg, and they became inseparable, these two brothers. One of them was mortal, the other immortal, like their parents. But when one of them died, the other one gave up his immortality so they could both be together as a constellation up in the sky called the Gemini. And also the Cancer sign has something to do with Zeus's uncompromising sexual appetite and the frustrations in this case of his wife Hera, because the most famous offspring of Zeus's many affairs was of course the hero Hercules, who in one of his many labors, one of them, the first was with the Nemean lion, that's what created the lion constellation, and the second one was with the many-hated serpent dragon Hydra. And in this case, the second case, Hera, the frustrated wife of Zeus, sent in an enormous crab to assist Hydra in the destruction of this bastard son of her constantly infidel husband. Zeus destroyed the crab and threw it up into the sky, and that's how that became a constellation. And so forth. I've tried to re-narrate all these rather funny stories in both the exhibited busts and in these little narrative medals. So hopefully a younger audience, maybe not so familiar with classical mythology and learning, will take an interest in these signs that have appealed to artists and authors and dramatists for 3,000 years at least now.